The Houston Texans are literally signing every single football player that plays in the NFL. They have signed so many players. I cannot believe it. But I think it's a very sound strategy. I've talked about this in every single one of my Texans videos already. The Texans are signing so many depth players. They are just throwing absolute darts at the board and seeing what sticks. They are saying, we're just going to sign all these guys that we kind of like. We're going to trade for them. We're going to make moves. We're going to build the bottom of our roster. And we are going to just tear this thing down and build it from scratch. This is what Nick Caserio is doing. He's building competition within his roster. He's building competition within his training camp. He's building, and he's getting fighters. He's getting special teams players. And he's getting, just, again, depth. So, we have a number of players to discuss here. Christian Kirksey, 1 year, $4.5 million. Derrick Rivers, 1 year, $3 million. They traded for a tight end Ryan Izzo from the Patriots for a 7th round pick. Alex Erickson, wide receiver, Cincinnati Bengals. Dante Moncrief, who just played for the Patriots last year. And Desmond King, which is the big one. So let's start off with Christian Kirksey, who was somebody that I forgot to talk about in recent videos. But Christian Kirksey signed a 1 year, $4.5 million deal with the Texans. Christian Kirksey, I like as, a depth linebacker. He played more of a starting role for the Green Bay Packers last year and was okay. He wasn't bad. He's been pretty good with Cleveland, actually, in the past. And I do think fits that system a lot better. I think he fits what, again, Lovie Smith. I've said it many times with these Texans videos. Texans are completely reshaping and reforming their defense. So with all these additions they've made to linebacker, they're just seeing who's going to be good, right? They've added 5 or 6 linebackers in this free agency. Christian Kirksey is just another name. So 1 year, $4.5 million. Decent player, decent athlete, has had some injury issues, which has been his primary concern. Can start, right? Might even gain a starting position on the Texans this year. And yeah, still fairly young to the point where he could reform his career. Again, high reward, low risk. I think Kirksey has shown enough in his past, especially in this system, that would make you believe that maybe he'll fit what you're doing. So I don't hate it. And again, he started a fair amount of games for the Packers, went to the NFC Championship last year. So that's not terrible for a team that's rebuilding. Derrick Rivers. Derrick Rivers is somebody I know quite well because he was a prospect for New England for many years that never could stay on the field, but he always showed flashes in preseason, in the training camp, and then left New England, went to the Rams, played as a depth outside linebacker edge player. Derrick Rivers is a great athlete, has very good speed and power, and I think the reason he's on the Texans is because Nick Caserio probably drafted him and still sees something in him. I have always been intrigued by him because he's always shown those flashes and moments of brilliance, and you've always heard reports about him showing up in training camp and making plays. So he's never really had a fair crack at things because he's always been hurt. I believe he was a former 3rd round pick by the Patriots a few seasons ago. But this is the type of guy, again, that you would take a stab at, especially at this position, because he's an edge rusher. He's somebody with a decent draft history. He's shown flashes. Nick Caserio has seen it in person to know what he is and be like, okay, if he's healthy, maybe he can have a place on this roster. I know he's a good guy. At the very least, he'll be a depth player or, just a camp body. But if he does that switch clicks, he could be a starter. So Derrick Rivers is a very fascinating ad. A lot of people don't know who he is, but he does have a lot of upside with the flashes he's shown in the past. Then you go to another Patriot, now former Patriot, Ryan Izzo. Nick Caserio, obviously, another guy I believe was undrafted or maybe was a 7th-round pick by New England. He's stuck on the roster as more of a blocking tight end. He actually was the best tight end on the Patriots last year. It's not saying a lot, but he was. He's a pretty good blocker. He's a nice, 3rd tight end. I think that's what he is. He can block. He can catch the football if he's wide open. But he's not going to be a guy that separates, gets open himself. He's not a great athlete, but he's good on special teams. He's a good blocking tight end. He brings just effort, grit to the team and to the offense. So for a 7th-round pick, you know what you're getting in him. Similar to Lee Smith, what Atlanta did. He's a blocking tight end. That's what he is. And that's why they traded for him. Alex Erickson. I've always kind of liked Alex Erickson. He's like a small, white slot receiver. Prototypical, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola. He's just not as good as those guys, right? That's what he was kind of made to be. He's that short, shifty slot receiver. That's what he is. But I've always seen some moments of him, just little quick cuts. I think he's kind of underrated. And he's never really, in my opinion, had the fair crack to be that in Cincinnati. I think, knowing that Nick Caserio's seen many of these guys have success in New England, he probably saw something in Erickson as a returner, as a slot receiver that could help his team. So I don't hate that one at all. 1-year contract. Dante Moncrief, player that has good physical tools, pretty good speed, good size, good height. He's a number 4, number 5 receiver at this point. Used to be a number 2, good red zone threat, good size, another camp body. He could potentially make it as a wide receiver on this team. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But he does have a lineage, a history of some success in the NFL. The final one is Desmond King. Desmond King is the best signing here by far. Desmond King on a 1-year, $3.5 million deal is an absolute steal. It's one of the value signings of this offseason. And I'm not even a big Desmond King fan. I'm not. But Desmond King was a former All-Pro nickel corner just 2 to 3 seasons ago. So to get him, who's only 27, 1 year, $3.5 million at a position where you suck at. Okay, the Texans have sucked at corner for the last 5 to 6 years. It's been a long time. I would say since 2016, when you had that number 1 defense with AJ Bouye, that's the last time you had good corners. Since then, you guys have sucked at that position. Desmond King's a nickel corner that I think can really be awesome for you. He has huge upside, right? All pro upside. He's a great athlete. He's a great returner, and he makes plays. He's never been bad either. So this isn't a guy that's been really good and really bad. He's only ever been, serviceable, right? That's the worst he's been. Is a serviceable nickel corner, but not great. So you're getting at least a starter, at least a serviceable nickel corner for 1 year, 3.5, and you might be getting an all-pro. So that risk is nothing at all. And the upside is massive. So this is actually, in my opinion, one of the best signings of free agency, period. And Nick Caserio has been doing work with these 1-year contracts. And I really love to see it because he's just adding every player he could possibly get his hands on. And I'm here for it. So Texans fans, let me know what you think in the comment section below about Nick Caserio's approach and about Desmond King joining the Texans.